Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Tech Talk. I am your host, Jeff Hootselle with AuditMax. As you guys know, Tech Talk's a show where we talk to some of the leaders in technology, people that are out in the marketplace doing really interesting things. We talk about current events. We talk about kind of the next wave of what's to come. Today, we've got a fantastic guest joining us from New York. We've got Kevin Ruthen, who's with Support.com. Kevin, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Great. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so Kevin, for the folks that aren't familiar with you guys, maybe tell them a little bit about Support.com and what you guys do.
Sure. Well, we're a leader in outsourced call center, small business, and direct-to-consumer technical support solutions. We have more than 20 years experiencing managing a remote workforce and providing high-quality 24/7 live technical support, really across any device, anytime, and that's leveraging our U.S.-based tech pros. Also, we provide self-support, content that folks can use to troubleshoot themselves, covering a range of over 10,000 technical support issues.
No, that's awesome. So Kevin, you guys are like the belle of the ball right now, probably one of the most popular folks, right? So with the pandemic happening and this huge rush to shift everyone remote, and I mean everybody from, you're talking about students in the education system, you've got people in normal office staff, to even people just trying to utilize all this technology at home to stay connected to other people. As I can imagine, it happened so quickly. A lot of people are struggling with how do they keep up. How do you guys help out in kind of that role?
Yeah, no, it's certainly a surreal time, and we're glad to be able to provide our services. In fact, we're providing them really to anybody at this time for 30 days free support, because we recognize what an unusual time this is and the importance, whether it's business or just relieving that stress and being able to personally be able to access content and entertainment. But we're helping businesses and students and teachers be sure they're able to connect and effectively with all their devices. And it's really important during this time. You want to not have that frustration of, oh my gosh, I can't get the connectivity, I can't connect with the people or the applications and my devices. I just need it to work, right? So that's where we step in, and we remove that frustration, get people up and running quickly, and able to assist them on really any device, anytime.
Yeah, that's interesting. So Kevin, when you've seen people make this shift from home, what's probably the most common thing that you see people are being challenged with as they get kind of that home office set up and they push those jobs and the things to their living rooms and to their home offices? What's been the biggest thing that's been the most challenge for them, you think?
Yeah, it's making sure that their device connectivity is working, especially if you have multiple devices, that they're able to have the right permissioning and connecting, especially if it's certain business applications that have certain security protocols in place. And then it's also especially if you have these days, like myself, I have multiple family members and there are multiple initiatives going on at the same time. So you've got multiple devices competing for that same bandwidth. And so one of the things we're able to effectively do is work with folks and optimize that bandwidth, even prioritize those bandwidths. So if somebody needs to be on a critical business call while their kids might be streaming Disney or something like that, we're able to optimize most router settings these days to be able to set them up to prioritize those devices that are being used for business at that moment in time.
Yeah, that competition between Disney Plus and Zoom and Fortnite, that's a big challenge right now in the house. You see who has the most power at this point. So yeah, so that stuff's great.
Absolutely.
And I think, and you guys are also helping augment services for businesses too, right? So I know a lot of folks that have contact centers and their own help desks that are typically in an office. Now they're forced to work remote in kind of a sudden fashion, or maybe their staff's not able to work for other reasons. You guys are able to come in and help support in those cases as well, right?
Yeah, but businesses of all sizes, and certainly during this pandemic, they just were not prepared. So many of these businesses where suddenly, and even they may have had a help desk person or two, but now suddenly they've got their entire on-site business now needs to go remote. And so how do they quickly and effectively get them those people up and running and have the people there available to support them remotely. So we're able to augment even businesses that have an existing support staff, and then even enterprise businesses have been, reaching out to us that had their own call centers or contact centers that were, centrally located and now have had shut down. So they now have to, scramble to augment those folks, because a lot of those people, especially if they're offshore, they're not able to support the business anymore, especially from a remote perspective. And our business has been set up with remote workforce for the last 20 years.
Yeah, what do you think as we look through this, and some of the states are starting to reopen in phases now, according to the presidential guidelines, and there's task forces everywhere. As we kind of look at this and we come out of this this phase, what do you think the legacy of this will be? Is it, especially when it pertains to the ability for folks to work from home and that change? And there's a lot of companies that they never gave the option for people to work from home. They always were intimidated by that, or didn't think IT would be able to support them in that type of fashion. What do you think? How do you think things change as we kind of come out of this?
Yeah, I think it's it's a new normal, right? And in so many ways that we're seeing, just even as things open up, it's not going to be the same way we shop in grocery stores or eat in restaurants. The same holds true for the workplace. So even as people start being allowed and start going back to physical workplaces, I envision that that's going to be very limited, and not just the short term, but over long term, you're going to see probably people coming in, maybe here and there for certain meetings in physical locations, or a few days a week. But I think we're not going to go back, or most businesses aren't really going to go back to every day, all day workforce in the central locations. There's going to be a lot more continued of folks working in a remote capacity, and especially I think it's proving to be folks can be very productive. And certainly I know in many times being out there in California, let alone here in New York, that commute time is grueling, and now you're seeing cutting out those commute times and people being able to have that much more time to be productive and flexible hours working at home is something I think that's going to carry over for the long term.
Yeah, it does seem like that's been a common theme, and we have conversations with a lot of IT leaders and CIOs, all the time, and we're seeing that more and more. The folks who are really resistant to it are starting to see, hey, I didn't really think about it, but that hour these people spend commuting, or not that they want people sitting at their desk and eating their lunch, but they tend to feel like they get another hour or two out of their employees, in that remote fashion. Plus,
and
people are a little bit happier. They can
balance.
Yeah, I think it's that balance, especially now when people, it's not just they're working from home, but they have kids that they're trying to help with their homeschooling and their online services, which maybe they've never done before. And, maybe they're taking care of other generations, folks in the household. It gives them a little more flexibility as well. So I think it's a good thing from a recruiting standpoint too. So Kevin, if folks want to find out more about Support.com and some of the stuff you guys are doing for companies right now and really for everybody during this process, where can they go to learn a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. Real easy. You can go to our website, support.com. You'll see there. You can get quickly up and running, connecting with our agents, taking advantage of that offer I mentioned of 30 days free tech support. And also we have huge free, plethora of self-support guided path content that's really valuable. That people can search and leverage and troubleshoot things on their own if they'd like.
That's awesome. Well, that's great, Kevin. You guys are offering a great service, and there's probably never been a better time for you guys than now. So we certainly appreciate it. And we're also thinking about you guys up in New York. Hope you stay safe up there and the rest of your coworkers. But thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. We appreciate it. And thanks to you guys out there for joining us for another episode of Tech Talk. We'll see you on the next one.